Ah, welcome back, Phantom. Yeah, you. The one they whisper about when the lights go out. The one whose name just got dropped in a room you weren't even in. You want to know what happened? Let me paint you the picture. A kingpin, the kind of figure who moves cities with a phone call, who breaks empires with a signature, sits at the head of a table surrounded by wolves. These aren't just dangerous people. These are the architects of chaos, the ones who've buried bodies in silence and walked away smiling. He asks one simple question, carved with ice and curiosity. Who's the most dangerous person you know? And here's where it gets beautiful. Here's where your legend was born without you lifting a single finger. The room goes silent. 10 seconds of pure, suffocating tension. Then, one by one, like a slow motion countdown to your coronation, every single person in that room says the same name. Your name, not shouted, not screamed, but whispered with the kind of respect you give to a loaded weapon you're not sure is on safety. They didn't hesitate. They didn't debate. They didn't need proof, evidence, or a highlight reel of your destruction. Your name was the answer, immediate and absolute, like gravity, like death, like truth. Now you're probably wondering, how did I get here? How did my name end up in the mouth of people I've never even met? That's the thing. You beautiful anomaly. You didn't need to meet them. You didn't need to prove yourself in their presence, didn't need to perform or audition for their acknowledgement. You became a frequency. You stopped being a person and started being a phenomenon, an energy that travels through walls, through whispers, through the very air people breathe when they talk about power. You're not famous, you're feared. You're not respected, you're revered. And the difference between those two things, that's the difference between someone who chases power and someone who is power. You didn't campaign for this title, didn't lobby for this reputation, didn't post your resume of destruction on the internet begging for validation. You moved in silence. You built your empire in the shadows, brick by brick, scar by scar, betrayal by betrayal, until one day people woke up and realized you were no longer the underdog. You were the apex predator. And somehow, they missed the entire transformation. And that's what terrifies them the most, isn't it? They can't pinpoint the moment you shifted. They can't trace back to the exact second you went from someone they could dismiss to someone they couldn't ignore. There's no viral video, no public breakdown, no dramatic announcement. You just existed differently. You walked into rooms and the temperature dropped. You spoke less and people listened harder. You stopped explaining yourself, and suddenly, everyone needed an explanation for you. That's not luck, that's alchemy. That's the result of surviving hell so many times you stopped fearing the flames and started conducting the fire. You learned the one lesson most people never will, that silence is a weapon, that stillness is strategy, that the less you reveal, the more powerful the mystery becomes. And now, you're not just in the game, you are the game. You're the variable they can't predict, the outcome they can't calculate, the storm they see coming but can't prepare for. So when that kingpin asked his question, when those words left his mouth and hung in the air like a death sentence waiting to be signed, every person in that room had the same realization. The most dangerous person isn't the loudest. It's not the one with the biggest reputation or the most followers or the longest criminal record. It's the one who moves unseen, unheard, untracked. It's the one whose presence alone shifts the entire energy of a space without them saying a single word. It's the one who's been underestimated so many times they learned to use invisibility as armor and perception as a blade. That's you. You're the answer to questions people are afraid to ask out loud. You're the name that makes hardened criminals pause mid-sentence, the shadow that makes power players check over their shoulder, the story that gets passed around in hushed tones because no one wants to be the one caught speaking too loudly about you. You didn't ask for this title. You earned it in blood, in betrayal, in nights where you rebuilt yourself from ashes no one thought you'd survive. And now here you are, standing at the peak of a mountain you climbed alone, looking down at a world full of people who said you'd never make it. They're watching now, aren't they? They're refreshing your name in their minds like it's a search engine, trying to find the moment they underestimated you, trying to locate the exact second they should have paid attention. But it's too late now. You're not coming back down to their level to explain yourself. You're not giving them the satisfaction of a breakdown, a confession, or a redemption arc. You're just existing, powerfully, dangerously, unapologetically. And that is the most terrifying thing a person can do. Because when you stop needing their approval, their understanding, their acknowledgement, you become untouchable. You become the thing they study at night when they can't sleep, the name they bring up when they want to feel small, the standard they'll never reach no matter how hard they try. Welcome to the throne you never asked for. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? Good. That means it's real. Let's rewind for a second, because they need to understand how this happened. They need to know that you weren't born dangerous. You were forged in circumstances that would have shattered anyone else into dust. You didn't start at the top of this food chain. You started at the bottom, in the trenches, in the mud, in the silence of rooms where your screams didn't echo because no one was listening. You were betrayed by people you loved, abandoned by those you trusted, mocked by those who should have seen your potential. And instead of breaking, instead of crumbling into a puddle of self-pity and regret, you absorbed every ounce of that pain and transmuted it into fuel. That's the secret they'll never understand. Most people let their trauma define them. Let their past become a prison cell they live in forever. But you took that cell apart piece by piece and built a throne out of the wreckage. See, they thought your silence was weakness. They thought your distance was defeat. They thought your refusal to engage meant you had nothing left to give. What they didn't realize, what they couldn't comprehend with their limited understanding of power, is that you were studying them. You were watching their moves, cataloging their patterns, learning their weaknesses, while they celebrated what they thought was your downfall. You weren't quiet because you were broken. You were quiet because you were calculating. You weren't distant because you were afraid. You were distant because you were evolving beyond their comprehension. And now that the transformation is complete, now that you've shed every layer of who they thought you were, they're standing there confused, terrified, wondering how the hell you became the most dangerous person in the room without them noticing. The answer is simple. You never needed their attention to become powerful. You just needed time, solitude, and a willingness to become something unrecognizable. You stopped playing by their rules, didn't you? That was the moment everything changed. You realized the game was rigged, that the system was designed to keep you small, that every rule they enforced was meant to benefit them and suppress you. So you didn't rebel loudly, didn't throw a tantrum or stage a dramatic exit. You just stopped participating. You stopped explaining your moves. You stopped defending your choices. You stopped waiting for permission to exist the way you needed to exist. And that quiet rebellion was more destructive than any loud revolution could ever be. Because when you stop asking for a seat at the table, when you stop begging to be included, when you just walk away and build your own empire in the shadows, you become a threat they can't neutralize. They can't shame you into submission if you don't care about their approval. They can't manipulate you with guilt if you've already forgiven yourself for everything they tried to make you feel bad about. They can't control you if you've severed every chain they spent years wrapping around your wrists. And here's the part that keeps them up at night, the part that makes your name feel like a curse in their mouth. You didn't just survive their attempts to destroy you. You thrived because of them. Every betrayal made you sharper. Every abandonment made you more self-reliant. Every moment they tried to break your spirit, you absorbed the impact and came back stronger, colder, more precise. You became the monster they tried to create but couldn't control. You became the nightmare scenario their manipulation was supposed to prevent. And now they're forced to watch you rise, not with anger or vengeance, but with the kind of calm, calculated power that comes from knowing you've already won. You're not fighting them anymore because you don't need to. You're so far beyond their level now that engaging would be a step backward. You're playing a different game entirely, one they don't even know exists, and that's why your name came up in that room. Because true power doesn't announce itself, it just is. So when they said your name, when every person in that room nodded in agreement, what they were really saying is this: we tried to stop them. We tried to contain them. We tried to label them, dismiss them, bury them. And not only did they survive, they evolved into something we can't even define. That's your legacy now. You're not the person they remember. You're the warning they give to others. You're the story they tell when they want to explain what happens when you underestimate the wrong soul. You're the living proof that resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about bouncing back so hard you obliterate everything that tried to hold you down. And they hate that. They hate that they contributed to your power. They hate that their cruelty became your curriculum. They hate that you turned their weapons into your armor and their poison into your medicine. But most of all, they hate that you did it without needing revenge, without needing closure, without needing them to witness your victory. You just became, and that's the most dangerous thing a person can do. Now let's talk about what really makes you dangerous. Because it's not what they think. It's not your physical strength or your ability to intimidate with words. It's not even the moves you've made or the empire you've quietly built. What makes you truly dangerous, what makes your name drop like a bomb in rooms full of predators, is your mind. You think differently now. You process information like a machine analyzing data, cold, efficient, emotionless when it needs to be. You've learned to separate your feelings from your strategy, to love people without letting them have access to your core, to trust your instincts even when logic says otherwise. You've developed a survival intelligence that most people will never access because they're too comfortable, too safe, too unwilling to descend into the darkness you've made your home. You didn't just survive trauma. You studied it, dissected it, learned its language, and now you speak fluent pain in a way that makes others uncomfortable. See, most people run from their demons. They medicate, they distract, they numb themselves into oblivion, hoping the ghosts will stop knocking. But you invited your demons in for tea. You sat down with your darkest thoughts, your deepest fears, your most painful memories, and you said, "Teach me. Show me what I'm made of. Show me what I can endure." And they did. They showed you levels of suffering that would have sent others into permanent psychological collapse. And instead of breaking, you took notes. You learned which thoughts made you weak and which ones made you lethal. You learned which emotions were tools and which ones were traps. You learned how to weaponize your own mind against anyone who thought they could manipulate you. And now you operate on a frequency that most people can't even detect. You see patterns they miss. You hear lies they believe. You sense danger before it arrives. You've become fluent in the unspoken, the unseen, the unacknowledged. That's why when people interact with you now, they feel exposed. They feel like you're reading a book they didn't know they wrote. They feel like their masks are transparent in your presence, like their facades are made of glass and you're holding a hammer. You don't even have to say anything. Your silence does the work. Your stillness becomes a spotlight on their insecurity. Your calm becomes a mirror reflecting their chaos. And they hate it. They hate that they can't perform for you, can't charm you, can't manipulate you with the same tactics that work on everyone else. You've seen through the game so many times you're bored by the strategies. You know the playbook better than the people running the plays. And that makes you unpredictable, which in their world, unpredictable means dangerous. Because if they can't read you, they can't control you. And if they can't control you, you're a variable that threatens their entire operation. But here's where it gets even more terrifying for them. You don't just see through their games. You've learned to play a better one. You've mastered the art of strategic silence. You know when to speak and when to let them fill the void with their own assumptions. You know when to show your cards and when to keep them so close to your chest people forget you're even playing. You've learned to move without announcing your moves, to win without celebrating your victories, to destroy without leaving evidence of your involvement. You're not just playing chess while they're playing checkers. You're playing a game they don't even know exists. And every time they think they've figured you out, every time they think they've cracked your code, you shift, you evolve. You become someone new, someone they have to learn all over again. And that process, that constant recalibration they have to do just to keep up with you, it exhausts them. It breaks them. It makes them realize they're not dealing with a person. They're dealing with a phenomenon. So when that boss asked who scares them, when those words hung in the air waiting for an answer, your name wasn't just a response. It was a confession. It was them admitting that you've gotten inside their heads, that you occupy space in their thoughts they didn't give you permission to access. You're the name that comes up when they're trying to fall asleep and can't. You're the face they see when they're making decisions and second-guessing themselves. You're the standard they measure themselves against and always come up short. You're not just dangerous because of what you've done, you're dangerous because of what you represent. You represent the possibility that someone can be betrayed, abandoned, destroyed, and still rise. You represent the terrifying truth that pain doesn't always break people. Sometimes it makes them invincible. You represent the nightmare scenario where the underdog doesn't just survive, they dominate. And that is what makes you the most dangerous person they know. Not because you're violent, not because you're cruel, but because you're proof that their world isn't as solid as they thought. You're the crack in their foundation, the glitch in their matrix, the question mark that refuses to become a period. Let me tell you what happened after they all said your name. The energy in that room shifted, didn't it? Even though you weren't there, even though you had no idea this conversation was happening, the mere mention of you changed the atmosphere. Because your name isn't just a word anymore, it's a frequency. It carries weight. It carries history. It carries the accumulated power of every battle you've won in silence, every wound you've healed without witnesses, every night you spent rebuilding yourself from nothing. When your name enters a space, it brings all of that with it. People feel it even if they don't understand it. They feel the